banks funding renewable energy, where banks are actually impacting the planet. So can you dwell a little bit into this?
See, if you look at the energy transition, people are moving from fossil fuels to renewables. Gradually, we have to go and invest or lending from banks towards renewables. Solar is a bigger opportunity. I'm an independent director in L&T Finance, where we lend for women participation in the business, for electric vehicles. So everyone is gearing towards renewables.
Is green banking equal to digital banking? Are they both the same thing? Do they go hand in hand, or are they different concepts that do coexist together?
The digital banking is quite purposeful, isn't it? It's paperless, is absolutely eco-friendly. More and more, you have digital banking, banking on mobile, banking on internet, on the go.
Hello and welcome to The Green TV. I am Shruti Seetharaman, a content creator and entrepreneur, and I truly believe that the choices you make can fully transform how your future looks, even financially. And today with me in conversation, I have Dr. Seetharaman, who is a global banker, someone who's a sustainability advocate, and also I think believes that every choice and every step that you make has a large impact and has a bigger impact on the planet that we hope to want to live in. So we're getting into conversation with something that I think most of us don't really think about when we think about swiping our cards or opening a bank account, and what that means for the planet and how it affects the planet. So we're diving deeper into that. Are you ready for a conversation?
Sure.
Okay. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about how money actually goes and how it can either harm or help the planet. Simple?
Yeah.
Okay. And what we're diving into in that aspect means green banking, which I think is your forte, and I think something that you practiced for years and years and years. And we want to make sure that we break it down so that the common man can truly understand it without really doing a textbook conversation. So I'm going to shoot with some questions. Hopefully, it's something that you're going to enjoy watching and learning and really get educated on or inspired.
Sure.
Banks can actually reward you for being eco-friendly or for being sustainable. This sounds too good to be true, but please tell us how that can happen.
It is. Banks plays a very big role in terms of value creation, infrastructure creations, lending, investments. In today's context, with the changing phase of the world, the climate risk management plays a big role. ESG, environment, social governance, is part of your strategic drive. So business with purpose, banking with purpose. If that's the case, whether investor or lending, you have to necessarily recognize, you factor the mission, the green mission, into account. When it comes to pricing, for example, there are banks like S Bank, Axis Bank, again, Bank do Brazil, JP Morgan, again, when it comes to global banks, even the Gulf states, banks where I practiced, like Doha Bank, green banking, a portion of the lending or investments is allocated for green purpose, and discrimination is done in terms of pricing. For example, if you take a green mortgage, it's cheaper than regular mortgage. If you take an electric vehicle, that is cheaper than, from a consumer perspective, than the regular car. So banking can play a significant role, and they can also lend money for renewables, solar, wind, biofuel, biomass. They can lend for water conservation, food security. Small and medium-sized entrepreneurs who are engaged in renewables, there's a value advantage. Development banks, national development banks, they also engage to promote the overall strategic drive towards lesser carbon emission. So banking plays a very significant role.
So basically what you're saying is that if you try and reduce carbon emission, you pay lesser interest on a loan.
From a consumer perspective, yes, that's right.
Very interesting. I think this is a very important information for everyone that's watching. And that brings me to something that I think a lot of people will relate to in terms of your home loan can be green. This sounds super relatable because there's so many people taking home loans, right? It's like almost imagine your house helping the planet. Can you dwell a little bit into how this works?
If you look at the green mortgage in specific terms, I was running a bank over 20 years. Green mortgage has got lesser interest. Again, repayment period is also equated monthly installments are less because we give a long-term value proposition than a conventional home mortgage.
Yeah.
It's Doha Bank in the Gulf. There are now many Gulf banks are doing it. American banks are getting into it. European banks, if you look at the Lloyd's Bank or again, Citibank in the US, ING from Amsterdam, India's Axis Bank, Yes Bank, they're all giving considerable advantage to the consumers. The pricing policy is different, repayment terms are different, so that they promote the green mission.
So basically, if your home is energy efficient, you have better terms on which you can take a loan.
There are specific criteria to be certified, what you call green building.
Right.
Commerce Bank in Germany, again, Dutch banks, many of the Dutch banks, they're also advocating and they're giving a special advantage to consumers for green buildings. Even if it is a commercial building, it's a green building, LEED certified. So you have value advantage.
Very interesting. And now we're moving into banks funding renewable energy.
Yeah.
And this sounds like a big one, or seems like a big one, where banks are actually impacting the planet. So can you dwell a little bit into this?
That's the new world order. See, if you look at the energy transition, people are moving from fossil fuels to renewables. The roadmap is very clear. First, we have to reach, stage by stage. Gradually, we have to go and invest or lending from banks towards renewables. The government national policy is always there. For example, Government of India has committed in 2015 they will reach 175 gigawatt of renewables, solar. Now they've already attained it in 2023. Now we have shifted the goal to 500 gigawatt by 2030. What does it mean? It means down the line the banks are also supposed to support the national policy in terms of lending. Solar is a bigger opportunity. Major solar enterprises are coming up. Small and medium-sized entrepreneurs are setting up. Large-scale corporations like Adani is embarking on it. Now, NBFCs, I'm an independent director in L&T Finance, where we lend for rural development, where we lend for women participation in the business, where we also lend for electric vehicles, which is, again, there's no pollution, there's no carbon emission. So everyone is gearing towards renewables. Everyone is gearing towards carbon reduction.
Fair. And since you spoke about a few examples, I want you to dwell a little bit into where India stands in the green banking market, because I think a lot of people have a perception that this happens usually in international banks or it happens only abroad. So we want to know what the status is and how much we as contributors of using banking services in India and how many Indian banks are actually pro-green banking.
That's a very good question. See, if you look at Europe stands tall in terms of the overall commitment towards sustainable value creation, especially on the green mission. Reducing carbon emission in India is a must. So the current government has got absolute clarity, whether it's solar development or renewables, there's a commitment. Now, if you look at top tier banks like Axis Bank, HDFC mortgages are quite attractive for consumers. State Bank of India is an extraordinary commitment towards sustainability. Tier 2 banks, Yes Bank, they are engaged heavily on sustainable value creations. New generation banks, which are what you call small finance banks, like Ujjivan, Jana, Equitas, they're also promoting in today's context. So everyone is engaged in carbon reduction mission. Anything akin to lending or investment, they are focusing on it. There's a commitment comes from all sort of banks in tandem. This is a welcome change, but India has to focus heavily on it because we are, some of the top cities in the world. If you count it, out of 10 cities, 3 are sitting in India. So essentially, carbon reduction is a must, and lending towards or investment towards the renewable is a must. Now, India is in the right direction. Indian Reserve Bank is engaged in measuring, supervising these commitments as well.
Okay, sounds good. And talking about India, I think a large hot topic is about farmers, and this one really surprised me in terms of sustainable farming finance. So are we saying that banks are supporting farmers to be eco-friendly? I think this is something that everyone would want to know because farmers largely impact the kind of availability of resources that we consume. So it directly impacts us. And we've spoken about in our previous podcast about how the quality of produce has also become a large part of why in today's world health is affected in the way that you're no longer indispensable if you're young. Mental health is an impact because of the quality of food that we eat. So this is such an important information to know.
Sustainable agriculture. That's the name of the game. So banks are lending for State Bank of India. When they lend, there are criteria for sustainable agriculture, farming. So if the criteria are met, there is a value creation towards green mission. There is a value advantage for those who are engaging in such millet for example, is a great promotion in India. Essentially, we recognize that's our strength as far as India is concerned. And banks like State Bank, banks like, nationalized banks, they are lending towards this mission is very unique, and 52% of the engaged population, if you look at working population, they are in agriculture. Their contribution towards GDP is around 30%, 25 to 30% on average. So we have value advantage in sustainable agriculture farming.
And now we're moving into everyday people, who is what I'd like to call it. So I'm talking about eco loans for the common man, right? And I feel like this is also very, not because I'm trying to make a point, but also very Gen Z coded, like something that everyone would want to know in terms of eco loans. So can you dwell into how normal people can actually start making a better impact when they're borrowing?
Say, any socially responsive, conscious businessman or individual or institution should focus on eco borrowings, eco loan borrowings. Now, if you're an individual, whether it's your personal housing loan, there are green credit cards are available, digital payments you should resort to, no business without sustainability. That's the consciousness we have to develop. When it comes to small and medium-sized entrepreneurs, it's a committed mission. They should also focus on sustainable development. Look at the pollution, air pollution, water pollution, land degradation. There is a tremendous issue. Unless individuals change their daily walk of life, business redefine their framework towards sustainability, you will not change the society. So banks are advocating, and they are also offering discrimination in terms of pricing, in terms of repayment methods, in terms of their commitment towards such projects. A portion of the risk-weighted capital can be allocated for this purpose. And it's also commercially viable.
Right.
It's not a charity, it's not a philanthropy. These are viable commercial models. When it comes to loan, car loan or consumer loan or housing loan, there is a value advantage if you move to renewables, or if individuals, for example, consumers can use when they buy products which are eco-friendly, there is a price reduction.
Yeah.
Service charges less. So these are criteria one has to follow.
Yeah.
And banks can influence the society.
And talking about how you talked about the environment, pollution, all of that, this one is honestly, in my opinion, very wild, because I never thought in my wildest dreams, or I never thought that banks actually supported protecting forests, which I'm not saying that they don't, but I'm saying you never thought of them as a correlation as to how banks can contribute towards protecting forests. So can you dwell a little bit into how banks do that?
Look at Amazon of Sub-Saharan Africa. Standard Chartered has committed for this. Bank do Brazil, South American bank, is engaging in Amazon forest, those agriculture sustainability, farming sustainability, they are lending. If you look at the big picture for sustainability, Bank of America has committed $1 trillion. It's not a small change. $1 trillion they are committed. So around the world, they're doing it. Now, India, all the nationalized banks have been given targets. Private banks, public-private partnership model where it exists, their commitment towards sustainability, sustainable development, lending or investment is always there. So banks play a big role, even in forestation, even in rural development. NBFC, as I mentioned, most of the NBFC now see rural opportunities.
Yeah.
They are moving from urban to rural. There's a tremendous amount of business development, even women participation business development. If you look at L&T Finance, we have a program called Digital Shaki, where women entrepreneurs in community where they're engaging in tailoring, or cleaning services, they're engaging in restaurants, small restaurants. NBFCs are funding. So banks play a big role in these missions.
I mean, very interesting how banks are trying to protect the planet, which I think is great, which brings me to the question of are banks actually walking the talk? Do they also work towards reducing their own impact for the environment?
They are. See, if you look at the commitment banks have to make, the government can govern and set in the policies. Banks are governed by independent regulators, technocrats. While national policy mission is there for priority sector lending, for example. In a place like India, you have a minimum you have to lend towards certain sectors. But Reserve Bank is there to set the standard in a hybrid model, global benchmarks in terms of commitment for sustainable value creation and also locally adopting the framework given by the government. So banks are supposed to follow a hybrid model, and supervisory system is protecting, measuring it, managing it in the larger interest of the economy.
Very interesting. And I think I would like to wrap up with one question, which we all are currently doing, right? We've all made the shift towards more digital banking. So the question is green banking equal to digital banking? Are they both the same thing? Do they go hand in hand? Or are they different concepts that do coexist together?
Digital banking is quite purposeful, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's paperless. And again, the procedures, the process is absolutely eco-friendly, and it is also less time consuming. As long as you have security parameters well defined, convenience, cost-effective mechanism, and retrieval mechanism is stronger. So digital banking is great. Over the period of time now, I'll be surprised if someone visits the banks anymore when it comes to retail lending or retail banking. More and more, you have digital banking, banking on mobile, banking on internet, on the go. You get your banking done. There's a digital advantage in terms of remittance, digital advantage in terms of programs for lending. So banks are gearing up, and consumers are also anytime, anywhere in the world, access to their funds, and they have access to their transactions, and they do execute online, real-time, unmonitored, 24/7. This is a worldwide exchange of digital opportunity. This is eco-friendly, absolutely eco-friendly. I was practicing digital banking since 1997, and SMS banking, web banking, mobile banking, GPRS technology those days. Now you have more and more blockchain.
Yeah.
Blockchain plays a big role in terms of distribution ledger. So digital banking is great. At the same time, cyber risks are also evolving, so we have to be mindful of it.
Also something we've dwelt a little bit in our podcasts in terms of cyber risk.
Yeah.
But let us know if you want us to talk more about it, and we will. But I think I'd just like to wrap up to understand, or to rather put out a message that everything that we spoke about today, I think, brings me to the point of that green banking is not just about banks. It's about what your money is supporting. Your money has the power to make that change. Where you bank, where you invest in, how you invest in, all of it is a lot more impactful and important than you think. So hopefully all of these insights and questions gave you some or made like a turning point for you in your head in terms of how you choose to invest your money and how you want to spend your money. And for you to understand how green banking, like I said, isn't just about banks, but it's also about how we're impacting the planet. If this did scratch your curiosity, and if you were satisfied watching this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.